the other show on a Wednesday, AEW Dynamite. It was a slightly different approach to NXT. So the show starts up with Cody Rhodes in the ring. The arena's in pretty much complete darkness other than a spotlight. And, another really passionate promo from Cody. You can't help but just love the guy, for, building this promotion up and, everything he's been through. Obviously, he's lost his dad and, he's really kind of solidified himself as like a true babyface at the minute. Like he can do no wrong. And it felt really, really genuine, heartfelt. He comes on, he asks basically the rest of the elite to put their differences aside, but then is very this is the thing about AEW, they keep to the storylines and they keep to the script, but they're very self-aware as well. So with this promo, he wasn't just there going, forgetting what's happening in the world and it's all about this match. He kind of says, it's not just about the elite needing to stick together. It's about us as human beings need to stand together, to get through this and stuff. And it's so fucking believable and you get so invested in it. Yeah, and it's like, really Omega and Matt Jackson come out really and, good. It feels really eerie at this point because it's just them in an empty, it's not production. There's no production to it. It's just them in a, pitch black thing, save a spotlight coming out here and, doing a little bit of a promo, but, he brings them out. Omega comes out and says a few bits on the mic. He's never been a great speaker, but, his wrestling more than makes up for that. Matt Jackson comes out, surprised me. I thought he was really good on the mic. Yeah. He questions once again, why is it just them three in the ring? Where the hell's Hangman? And then, I think they've done some great character work with Adam Page over the last few kind of weeks and months. I think he's, as a character, really, really strong with AEW at the minute, and he kind of...
Oh, yeah, I think we touched on it previously, but the fact that he was basically nobody to most of the audience and certainly to us when he had his match against Jericho when the show first started going. He was the first opponent, really, they were both fighting for the title at the time, and he didn't win. And the way they've built him up and developed him as a character,
that they've had the differences and stuff in kayfabe in the storyline, and he kind of comes out and Matt Jackson says, are you going to stand with us? And they stick to everything they say they're going to do. Like Hangman came out and said, because of the coronavirus, I'm no longer going to be accepting beer from the fans. For my own health, I'm now going to switch to whiskey. And then he comes out with a glass of whiskey in his hand. It's just good. It's just like it's funny as well. And he comes out and raises his glass, which is he didn't have to say anything because the character works so good that he's raised his glass. You get it. He's with the he is going to stand by them, and he fucks off. And then they've done that little bit, and then that's where the opening promo comes to kind of its best bit in my opinion, where they kind of just forget the storyline for a minute and just basically say, look, it's a crazy world out there and stuff, and they just want to give the best show that they possibly can to people. And in order to do that, let's do it. And then obviously they go full into it, like with the full pyro, the full lights, and other than the fact there's no fans there, you'd feel like it was a proper normal show. And I just feel like that was completely night and day to how WWE have handled it with this situation, like making it feel really weird and eerie. It felt it was a fucking great opening. Like straight from that opening, I was psyched for the show.
Yeah. No, it was fantastic. I totally agree. It built really well. It's I think. And the show as a whole, not just this promo, but they've really, to deal with a situation like this in the way they've done, they've hit it out the park. They're doing fantastic. And
I thought it was a very, very strong opening considering everything that was going on. And then, just the way they've handled the whole thing, because straight away after this, they then cut to MJF for a promo, and he's there by ringside. And I just love him. He's just a little slimy little twat, and I just love him. He's one of the best things in wrestling at the minute. And Schiavone's there giving his little spiel, and he's, typical MJF's like, wow, that's real hard hitting journalism. And then he basically is like, I'm not going to wrestle today because I'm going to let the undercard talent, get their money. There's a big performance bonus.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I really like that because he was saying like basically the money they're offering for tonight is just, he said some people might need that money, but I certainly don't.
He's like, they need the money and they also need the TV time because let's face it, they're undercard talent and I'm a main eventer. You know, it's just, considering he's another one who he came from nowhere, hasn't he? And you know, straight away he's one of the best heels in the business. Like just overnight,
he's such a natural. He is such a natural. Funnily enough, he's almost to me. In terms of his ability on the mic, certainly.
Yeah,
he reminds me of Jericho.
He's going places, honestly. I think he's absolutely fantastic. But obviously, he's at ringside, and then Schiavone's kind of saying, hang on a minute, what's going on here? Are you betting? Are you guys gambling on the matches? And he gets all offended, and he's like, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to say? And then he basically ends up saying, why? Are you interested? Do you want to buy it? And like, you know, I'm not a massive Taz fan from a commentary perspective, but you know, Taz was on commentary this week for some reason. I'm not really sure why, but he was on commentary, and it's the little things that Taz does, like where he starts laughing at things, you know, when it's funny, and then it kind of makes it funnier in a sense because you know that it's funny. So just little nuances like that I thought really kind of helped this little segment. But
yeah, Taz is an interesting one, without digressing from the show, because they seem to have signed him in some capacity. You know, he's now on the card with that whole Taz is all elite, but I don't know in what capacity because he's not always commentating. They still have Ross, Giovanni, and
what is the last fella's name?
What's the last fella's name?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, thank fuck that would have done my head in all the rest of this podcast.
It is, yeah. I know, yeah. So I can see his face. Well, I can't, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I think
that's where he started. He made a few appearances on Dark, but then obviously to bring him up to the main show. I don't know whether it was just, you know, the lack of personnel or what, but
I've heard some suggestion that they might be getting a second weekly show. I don't think they can handle it right now, but maybe they've got Taz ready and primed for that. But yeah, I think it might have been because I'm right in saying Excalibur wasn't there this week.
I thought he was there.
He couldn't get to it, and Taz was ready to step in. Or was he there? I don't recall because I recall a lot from Ross and
Shivani.
Is it Giovanni? Am I saying that right? Giovanni, sorry. Yeah, I saw a lot from Shivani and Ross, but I don't recall.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I think it cut to the because I didn't think Tony Schiavone had made it, but then he was doing the opening interview as opposed to being at the announcer's desk because it was from what I recall it was JR Taz and Excalibur were there, but I could be wrong. But.
Right, unless that's why, because they were all having to pull double duty in some senses. So maybe Giovanni was busy with other stuff. Because you probably noticed that they had Brandy Rhodes on the ring announcing duty.
It could have been the reason for it, but I think just little things like having MJF and people like that doing this little gambling thing, like it, you know, it gave them a purpose of why they would be sat in the audience. It didn't feel awkward, like they're just out there because it's Corona and to give support. It was they're out there gambling and betting on the matches, so they are going to boo the ones that, you know, because they've got money riding on it and stuff. And it was just little things like that. It just makes sense. It's not like, you know what I mean? Like, I think WWE dumbs stuff down and, you know, just they think we're stupid and, you know, stuff like this, it, you know, it helps and I think it's appreciated. And then onto the kind of first match of the night was Best Friends versus Lucha Bros. I mean, well, I mean, the highlight of the match was
I love Orange Cassidy.
How much Orange Cassidy, you know, lended himself to the commentary team. You know, he came out and he was going to help out on commentary and, you know, didn't say a fucking word.
Well, I'm kind of hoping he's got a regular
just stuff like that.
It's
just great character work. Like, how funny is it to have him come out and be on commentary and not say a fucking thing? But the match itself is okay.
Yeah, no, he's amazing. Like, yeah, I mean, it was a good match. I know notable absence of Pac. They mentioned them quite a lot, but
it's the same with
there. So again, might be a
I'll come on to it later as well. But I feel like a few of them couldn't make it because I know Marco Stunt wasn't there in a later match as well. So I don't know whether some people just couldn't get to the show or what. But you know, there was definitely.
Well, I mean, apparently they have restrictions, and this is not just Dynamite, but everyone. By all accounts, I think the limit is 50 people. And that counts staff as well as audience and stuff before it's an issue, like from the CDC point of view, maybe. But I think that was why they sort of were maximising talent, and they'd have like Brandy on commentary, on commentary on ring announcer duty, so you've got more stars there than staff. Do you know what I mean? But I think they were probably working with some limitations in that sense as well, because obviously anyone who's going to be there for a match is going to be mulling around backstage and stuff, and I don't know if there was issues in the restrictions of people.
So that was the first match. It was okay. I've seen better matches from them, but all in all, it was fine. And I thought, I was going to say, like, straight away, you could see the impact it was going to have by having the likes of MJF and stuff at ringside, because obviously he was, delighted that, celebrating the fact that the Lucha Brothers got the win, because obviously he's backing all the heels and stuff like that. So I just thought it was a nice touch.
Naturally, yeah. Yeah, and I found it interesting more than the match is the little bit at the end as well, where the best friends are saying that they're going to have a parking lot brawl next week. So that'd be an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a nice little kind of storytelling. It doesn't feel like we're seeing the same thing over and over again, which can do when the likes of Raw and stuff. But
yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, to offer, because I don't want to look like an AEW fanboy, even though I blatantly am, to offer one slight negative is the fact that I do think that you could kind of see that the best friends weren't too great on the mic. I think their mic skills really need a bit of work. There's like that awkward gap after him moaning before he decided to sort of say about this parking lot brawl, and you're like, what are we waiting for? Like, have you finished what you're going to say? And then he starts talking about the parking room, and it's just little things like that. It's like, okay, you're not as polished as everyone else here in terms of your mic skills, and it's only a minor negative. But in the interest of being fair, that we are analysing the shows.
No, I think it's a very fair comment. I think it's funny that you say that, because I'm not sure which one of them it was, but one of them came out on social recently and basically said that it's very clear that Orange Cassidy is the one who's over and we're just riding his coattails. So I think it's quite funny.
I find it really weird that Orange Cassidy said more by just, tilting his glasses down and looking over the top of them than the pair of them did on the mic.
Honestly, the next match of the night was
and it is really good character work.
4-way match. So we had Riho versus Alien Girl, Chris Statlander, versus Penelope Ford. So we haven't really seen much from her, so it was nice to see her get a match, versus Hikaru Shida. And do you know what? I think I've been quite harsh on the women's division of AEW. I don't think it stacks up versus WWE's at the moment, not by a long shot, but I thought this was actually quite a decent little match. There was some good little spots throughout. I think actually Statlander looked the weakest out of all the participants, which I think surprised me because she's been getting quite a bit of time. But I think Penelope Ford looks a little bit green, and she looks a little bit greener than the rest of them in there. But I think she's got something about her. She's got star power, I think.
No, I totally agree. I was sold on her the minute she entered the ring, the attitude she entered the ring with.
Yeah.
And so far we've only seen her be a valet for Kip Sabian. So it was nice to see her actually in a bit of in-ring action, which in the intro, to be fair, and before some smart ass mentions it, if some smart ass mentions it in the comments, I know she's had matches on Dark. I'm well aware of that. I don't watch Dark, but it was good to see her in a main show match. And I think it's interesting, because if you'd showed me this match card, I'd have gone, okay, the weakest looking one there will be Penelope Ford. And I do agree with you that
to give credit to Penelope Ford as well, she looked like more of a star than Kip Sabian in this segment. So it's
that's a fair point. That considering she's been booked so far as his valet, he was to one side for her, and she was the star.
I think Riho as well. She there's a reason she was the first women's champ. I think she's really skilled. She did some good stuff as well with the Kip Sabian interference and kind of trying to deal with him and stuff on the outside as well. And I think I was really impressed with Shida. I thought she put in a really good shift, and obviously she got ended up getting the win as well. So it looks like she's going to be Nyla Rose's next opponent. But
do you know what? I actually really want to see that. I think Hikaru Shida's been there from the beginning, from what I gather, or from what I remember. She's certainly been in there from early doors, and she's always been good in the ring. And I don't know, she's just basically been there grinding away. And I do think she's a really good wrestler.
Well, I think, I'm all for last seeing week I was kind of saying I didn't know who or like where it was going to go, because I think the likes of Statlander and stuff didn't seem to pose a threat to Nyla. You know, like she'd been beaten before and stuff like that. So I think they've made the right call by giving a little bit of fresh blood into this kind of women's title mix.
See, this is what, and I could go on to
you've run out of hats.
words
That's
here.
why.
Words this time, Carl. I've run out of hats, mate. Because this is where I think you can see that AEW are willing to roll with the punches, because I think they could see that no one was really getting behind Statlander versus Nyla, and the Big Swole thing didn't. I'm sure they'll still put Statlander maybe against Big Swole or involved in some match in some way. They're not going to just, drop it into nothing. They're not going to do a Vince McMahon and go, "You're useless to me now." But it's nice to see that they're willing to roll with it and go, well, the crowd aren't getting behind that. Let's roll with this. And again, I could go to eat my words because it'll end up being Statlander and Nyla. But from what I can see, it looks like they're building.
It's going to be interesting to see where that goes. And I think after the match, he did some little, it's like a little random little segment with Kip Sabian. Just starts to get into something with Colt Cabana, who's at ringside. But I don't know, I felt like that was really cheesy. It was really poorly executed. I think he went in a couple of times. I think he missed his cue or something, and then he ended up getting a slap in the face from Colt Cabana, and Kip Sabian just came off looking like a little bitch, if anything. And I think after Penelope Ford's standout performance in that match, it didn't really do him any favors at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen Kip Sabian on the mic. He wasn't great. He wasn't intimidating. He's trying to play the heel and come across like a whiny teenager. I think I've met people like him in the streets. You know what I mean? And you're just like, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Which, funnily, is what Colt Cabana did. What I found interesting, and I don't know if you felt this way, but Colt Cabana seems to have an air of arrogance around him when he was addressing Kip, which, considering Kip's meant to be the heel in this scenario, and I know they don't necessarily go for the standard heel versus face sort of things, Colt was coming across very heel-like because he was being a bit of a dismissive cunt and putting him down, which isn't something a face would normally do. So he wasn't necessarily being a good guy. He was there talking and being all friendly with I want to say Shivani.
I think by all intents and purposes, he is a little bit of a cunt in real life. I mean, he was CM Punk's best friend for a while, so well, exactly, yes. CM Cunt and
Colt Cabana. Yeah, I mean, it comes to something though when that brief interaction makes me go I get why Punk fell out with it.
Jury's out on that, but just seemed, I guess they're going to build to something, but I don't know, just felt a bit out of place. I think it just seemed odd.
I think the problem is I hate arrogance. It's a little pet peeve, and the fact that just generally looks like he fucking loves himself doesn't help. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
But again, he's very fresh in the show.
A Moxley promo. So he's driving around in some fucking swanky sports car and gets out. Basically, he's been told he's not medically cleared. And I thought it was quite funny. His response was like, "What do you mean medically cleared? I've never been medically cleared in my life." Which I thought was, very true to his character. But he then kind of, well, exactly, with a fringe.
Makes sense when you're a lunatic.
Thought that was quite funny, and then he basically says, fine, he's not going to show up tonight because nobody wants any cops getting punched, with everything else going on. Which I thought, don't know, a little bit cheesy, that one. And then I think you've made this point before, where it's like, why is he going for the title? He clearly, his persona is, why the fuck he wouldn't value that title? And then, why is he driving around a fucking swanky sports car?
Well, 2 points I want to make. The first one being, I think it's a real shame that it wasn't done in the arena, because I really wanted to know how they were going to handle him entering through the crowd, whether they were just going to go with it anyway or what. That's a mystery that I'll have to leave for now. And the second one being, was that the same car? And I could be wrong, but was that the same car?
Maybe that's why.
So how's he ended up with it?
I've caught. You know what?
Well, that's what I was curious on, because it's like, has he got one just to go? I didn't even need your car, Jericho. Or has he actually got Jericho's car?
Getting poked in the eye. He stole the car key, didn't he? And he got one of the other guys in the eye with the car key. So it makes perfect sense. I take it all back. I'm wrong.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
No, that's good. I've been able to satisfy a niggle
So
for you.
in
There
that
you
case,
go.
it makes perfect sense.
So it was one and the same. It was that car.
Yeah,
He might as well have had a
that's
private
one of my
reg that
pet
said
peeves then
Jericho.
from that segment alleviated. But yeah, I don't know. I thought, well, yeah, he should have just come in.
But still, why
with the
didn't he come
car.
in through the audience?
through the lack of audience.
Yeah, and I can guarantee a bit of WWE one. He probably still would have come in through the audience and pretended like the audience
was a bit of a shame. No Moxley on the show, but yeah, interesting little promo. Basically said he'll be there, for the next week or whatever. But whether that happens or not remains to be seen. And then the next match. So as I alluded to earlier, so Jurassic Express, they took on Butcher and the Blade. So Jurassic Express were without Marco Stunt, and Butcher and Blade were without the Bunny. So I think that must just be, to keep the numbers down. Again, a solid tag team match. I think you've got two. We've said this before about tag teams. It's important that they look like a tag team and they act like a tag team. And I think these are two tag teams. The Butcher and the Blade, Jurassic Express, like they look the part. And the solid workers. I thought the match itself was fine. I don't think Jurassic Express ever really have a bad match, and I think they did carry Butcher and Blade a little bit here. But all in all, it was pretty solid. I thought it was quite a funny finish, really, because obviously MJF is, as I mentioned, is there with a few others, gambling on all the matches and stuff, and he actually shouts out from the side, basically telling Butcher and Blade that they need to finish it, like tell them to do this move now to kind of get the win, and that ultimately causes the distraction that leads to the Jurassic Express ended up winning the match. So I thought that was a nice little way to do it. It wasn't really an interference as such or a run in or anything like that, but it was just using the situation around you to kind of help influence matches, which I thought was good.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it added a bit more credence to them being there as well, which I like the way they did.
Been teasing for a while now about revealing who the Exalted One is. So Evil Uno gets in the ring and starts doing his speech again, and then Daniels and Kazarian come out, and once again Daniels is kind of saying it's all a lie. There is no Exalted One. You're getting people to wear masks. You haven't helped a single one of them, and then suddenly this little vignette plays, and it's something that we've been kind of speculating about for a while. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be the likes of Brody Lee? Is it going to be the likes of Matt Hardy? We didn't really know which way it was kind of going to go. And we were quite happy in one sense because it was one of our predictions came true, and it was Brody Lee.
Oh, mate, I was so happy with it, to be honest. I think
considering
Brody
how he
did
was used in WWE,
job as well.
just in that one promo, he instantly looked like a star. I thought, yeah, exactly, and I think there was
straight
that
away
line,
you go, they wasted you
within the promo as well. It was. Yeah, you're not the first out of touch old man to not believe in me or something like that, and it was like, oh shit, shots fired. But it was just straight away out the gate. He just like fuck, good. Easy. Yeah, they've got another big star on their hands now, and then promo ends, and fair play to Daniels, but fucking hell, some cheesy acting from Daniels where he's like still looking at the screen, and then he does like this little double take of like to see if anyone's behind him, but it looked hokey as fuck. Like I don't know why you would go to look behind you, then look back the other way again, then look. You know what I mean? It's only a really small little tidbit. It means nothing in the grand scheme of things. But I was just like, what are you doing? Yeah. But then obviously Brody Lee, comes out, and
I
thought, did you notice he kind of he set him up almost for like the Sister Abigail?
Do you know what? I didn't pick up on it until basically I read the notes on it. Do you know what I mean? And I was like,
yeah, because
he did,
there was no
and it was. I don't know if that was a deliberate. It must have been a deliberate.
Let him back up, spun around, and clotheslined him. So it's just like
exactly.
It's always the little details which I think they just do so well. Is like the little thing around Vince, and then obviously just little callbacks like that. Straight away, it's just like holy shit, great debut. Yeah. So I thought,
it's not.
I'm interested to see where it goes because again, like obviously
he's
been in stables, he's been in the Wyatt family, he's been in tag teams and stuff. But I'm guessing he's going to lead this stable. I don't think it's going to be Evil Uno. I don't know whether Uno will still be somewhat of a mouthpiece for him or not. But he's like the big star of this Dark Order now, so it'd be interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah, well, I mean, they've done that typical, haven't they? He dresses differently to the rest of them, so he stands out better. Just a little subtle visual as well. So he's definitely going to be the head of it.
So obviously that was
it'd be interesting to see the
very good.
capacity
And then onto the next promo. So I think they fucked up a little bit here with the because I think there was still background music playing when basically Jake the Snake Roberts and Lance Archer are getting interviewed by Tony Schiavone, and there's music still playing. And I think he kind of threw Jake off a little bit. I think because I think and I'll be honest,
definitely,
I think Jake the Snake's promos are fantastic. I think he's one of the best speakers that especially from the olden days that there was at the time. And I think his promo last week, or if it wasn't last week, whenever it was, he did his promo was really good as well. But this week, this week though, it wasn't good at all. I feel like he spoke a lot, but he didn't say anything. Basically.
I mean, there were bits I liked, like when he said about it wasn't going to be personal. I think,
the gist of what he was trying to say, it just felt like he took too many words to say it almost, but the gist he was trying to say is that, they're here, they're not going to be ignored, they came here for a reason, and it wasn't meant to be personal, but now it is going to be, and basically saying that they are going to get Cody's attention, so interesting, but yeah, definitely not the best promo by Jake. I think just went around the houses a little bit too much, I think, and ultimately all he was saying was, yeah, Maria, and I'm going to get you, Cody. But it just felt like it took a long time to say that. So yeah, I think I'm expecting him to come back with a much stronger promo the next time he does one, but that wasn't great.
I could be wrong here, but to me, I feel like maybe this promo wasn't going to be in the original product. Like there was going to be something, but they've had to put together this promo because they weren't going to be there because of either travel issues or restrictions in some way, and they wanted to keep the whole story building. So I think they've put this together.
What? That's a really good point, actually, because immediately following that promo, they already had a pre-taped vignette, kind of showing who Lance Archer was, and they kind of played this video of him in some like compound area. There's like a big wrestling ring in like a backyard. And there was just like loads of people, basically, who's going to fight him, and he was just accepting like all challenges. I think they were all screaming like "try or die" or something, and Jake was there in the back, like smoking a cigar in the background, and basically everyone got in the ring one by one, and Lance Archer just like destroyed them all. So yeah, it could be that they weren't even meant to do a promo, and it was just going to be that, but they thought, well, they're here, so we'll use them.
Well, no, what I think, and this is again purely speculation, I think the original plan was for them to have an actual face-to-face with Cody, whether it just be Jake again, or whether it be Jake and Lance this time, and they were going to be in the ring staring Cody down, maybe a little bit of interaction, but something like that, and then they've not been able to do that, so they've had to put together this sort of backstage bit, and it was always going to be like Jake was going to come out face to face Cody and go, this is what you're up against, and roll the video in some way. Do you know what I mean? I could be wrong, but I feel like the video was ready.
Yeah, I think the rest you could be right, to be honest. It would make a lot of sense of why it seemed a bit awkward and a bit drawn out. But I think,
because I don't think you can get around the fact. I think you're totally right. It was weaker than Jake. That we're used to with Jake Roberts, and certainly weaker than he did last.
Yeah, and I thought the promo wasn't great, and I didn't think the video
you could see
package was that good either. It kind of felt a bit corny to me. So I don't know.
Oh yeah, it felt like that scene in X-Men, without digressing too much, where Wolverine's in the cage and he's just fighting anyone who comes along.
So I don't know. It just felt
okay. So you've seen that film.
I think I'm not quite sold on him yet. I think. It's great that he's got Jake as his manager. He's obviously, I haven't really seen that much of him, but from what I hear, he's meant to be really good on the indie scene and stuff. So it's just, I'm not going to kind of dismiss him at this point, but I don't think his kind of debut has gone off to, as a great start yet.
I think we need to see him in the ring, and we need to see him in the ring quickly. I think this kind of stuff could get stale. I think they run into a similar problem that I moan about with WWE all the time. They could get really stale really quick. I think he needs to even if it's just some random and he squashes them. We need to see
the main event. So what was getting built up to was the Inner Circle versus the Elite. Whoever wins this match would get some sort of advantage in the Blood and Guts episode of Dynamite. So what I thought was funny is the they do this thing in AEW, which on some of the broadcasts you can, because obviously it's shown on ITV2 over here, but sometimes if I want to see it earlier, I'll have a look at like some American kind of broadcasts and stuff to try and watch it earlier. But I don't know whether they show it all the time on over here, but there was a bit where they went to commercial break in America, but they kind of had like a picture-in-picture bit, and you could see Sammy Guevara was mocking Darby Allin with the by revealing messages on a piece of paper. Like the way Darby used to do, and it was just basically just like funny stuff, basically saying, at the end of this match we'll have the advantage, and don't my boys look good and stuff like that. It's just like a nice little callback.
You know what? Whilst we're on that topic,
he's really good.
Sammy Guevara is another one like MJF. He's a fucking legend. Right now, he can do no wrong for me. I'm sure you're going to come to it, but
so obviously,
participating
this is the main event. Those guys come down, and then Jericho's music plays. Because obviously Jericho's going to be on commentary for this match because it's only going to be a 4-on-4 because obviously Nick Jackson's injured. So Jericho comes out, and as we know, the fans like to sing along to his theme music, and it's a bit of a shame not having any fans there. But as you've said, that's where the little legend, Spanish God, Sammy saves the day. So he gets the microphone out and pretty much screams along to the song. And it was just, it was really good.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I even love the fact that it was just awful. Like, I don't know if he genuinely can't sing or whether he was deliberately doing it, but just that made it even better. The fact that it was just tone deaf, and it was fucking brilliant. And again, another just a lovely little touch and a lovely, brilliant way of dealing with the lack of audience.
I think you can see as well Jericho like corpsing on the stage, like trying his best not to start pissing himself laughing, and you can clearly see that like they all get along and stuff. And as a stable, it's important. It's important that you should be getting along and stuff. And I think it's the way they do stuff. It's really well thought through because obviously the whole elite is imploding at the minute, and like the inner circle just looks stronger and stronger, and doing this kind of stuff all kind of lends itself to that. So yeah, I just thought it was really good. The match itself was fine. Standard kind of 4-on-4 type of match. But then it was actually the inner circle who picked up the win. So Matt Jackson got rolled up, and then they ended up losing. Jericho celebrates on the commentary, and then they kind of cut this little promo. And I don't know what your thoughts were on this, but I feel like something went wrong. I mean, I'll come on to it in a minute, but it felt very drawn out. So obviously Jericho started off well, basically saying like the ball's in their court, and it's going to be even easier because they've only got 4 members after what they did to Nick Jackson. And then I felt like, they were waiting for something to happen, and it didn't happen. So they started just kind of making stuff up. Like Jericho kind of, like I think Jake Hager starts doing press-ups and Sammy Guevara gets on his back. And then, Sammy drops down, tells Jake to get on his back. Funny stuff like that. And, I felt like they were... Yeah, and I think...
Yeah, I think they handled it well, but like you say, just felt like they were trying to kill a bit of time.
They were waiting for the drone to come in.
Maybe a bit of technical issue with the drone.
Must have been having problems, but I did think they handled it quite well. But live TV, it was a little bit painful. Yeah, just enough.
And again, it was enough that you could see there was a problem. And I get why they wanted to do it the way they did, because obviously the drone is synonymous with the reveal, which I'll let you reveal. But the drone was a key thing, so I get why they wanted to stick with that. But I
think Matt Jackson must have finally had the cue, and then he gets hold of the mic and says, you might have said about 10 minutes ago that we've only got 4, but actually that's why I made a phone call to an old friend, and then this piano kicks in, and like straight away you're like, oh, what the fuck? And then there you go, as if Brody Lee wasn't enough, you get Matt Hardy in the same night. The kind of the drone comes out, they look up, and who was flying the drone is the Broken One himself.
Yeah.
I don't know what you feel about this, but it kind of felt almost Sting-esque with him in the rafters and the piano and the darkness.
No, I totally agree. I think, not a word said. The intensity behind it, the coming from the rafters. Obviously, you could tell he was going for the Broken gimmick without really saying anyway. He didn't do any of his typical, and I'm not dismissing the Broken gimmick, but he didn't do his typical sort of nonsensical talking. It was just that.
Yeah, it's just like, couldn't believe it. What a way to finish the show. you've had that amazing bloody start to it and the big kickoff, and you've had fucking Brody Lee debut, and then you've had fucking Matt Hardy debut as well, like on an episode where there was no fans in attendance, and they could have quite easily just played some video packages. They fucking literally, no pun intended, but they went all in.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. For me, in handling the Exalted one, I think this is the best thing they could have done, introducing Matt on the same night. Because can you imagine how much pissing and moaning there would have been on social media that it should have been Matt, should have been Matt. And not because it should have been Matt, but because people wanted Matt in AEW. He didn't need to be the Exalted one. He just needed to be in AEW. And I think introducing him that same night has allowed Brody Lee to get the hype he needs.
That's a fair point.
Sense of no one's going to be moaning about the fact that it was Brody Lee and not Matt. So he can, and I think that it helps both. Because Matt's not going to be damaged by BrodyLee in any way, but Brody Lee would have suffered a bit of damage if Matt hadn't been introduced.
I think a lot of people, I think we put a poll on Instagram beforehand, kind of saying who do people think it's going to be, and I think it was something like 98% of people thought it was going to be Matt Hardy. So,
see, and me and you, I think
ultimately, when you kind of compare the two of them,
I think we were both
who needs
Brody
it.
Lee,
I don't think Matt needs it. He's got the broken thing. He doesn't need the Dark Order. So. I think it's a big push for Brody Lee to kind of lead his own faction. You can just let Matt Hardy go ahead and be the crazy son of a bitch he is.
Exactly. Matt doesn't really need a stable around him. So I think it's the best thing that he's not the Exalted one. But I can already see it now, the way people fucking moan. And there would have been a lot of moaning on social media. There would have been a lot of moaning, like when they had a live audience again, if they hadn't introduced Matt on the same night. And I think that's the best thing.
Reviewing the whole show
without either of them
from a rating perspective, I've ended up giving it 4, and I think the reason for that is, there's amazing like opening to it. I loved all the little nuances they did with like the gambling stuff on the outside with MJF and like all that kind of thing. I love the way they handled it. You had Brody Lee's debut. You had fucking Matt Hardy make his debut. Like, you had massive stuff. I think the only thing that let it down was just the match quality. I think you had a lot of great stuff going on, but if you look at it, was just a few kind of tag team and 4-way matches, and they weren't the highest quality for me. So I think that's the only thing that kind of dampened it a little bit. Is I would have liked to seen slightly better in-ring action. I've only ever given one 5 out of 5 on the show, which was obviously an episode of Dynamite, and I think that's where it had a really good mix of promos and story progression as well as matches, like with the cage match with Cody and stuff like that. Whereas I feel like this had fantastic story building and debuts and great kind of grandeur to it, but the matches themselves just went phenomenal.
Yeah, I think it's a very fair assessment, to be fair, mate. Personally, for me, I'm going to give it a 4 as well. Now, I'm going to mark out slightly here, and I'm going to be an AEW fanboy, because what I'm going to say is they hit it out of the fucking park. Like, they're dealing with a shit situation, as everyone is, and WWE need to take notes, right? This is how you handle the situation. This is what you do. They kept, like you say about, you mentioned match quality. We had an episode of NXT that had no matches at all. So I'll take slightly poor matches over no fucking matches at all. This was just perfectly handled. Like you say, there was a lot of story development. There was a lot of nuances there. There was a lot to enjoy. And I can't fault it at all. That being said, I do agree with you, so I'm going to give it a 4. I can't give it a 5 because I reserve a 5 for something like you say, that episode of Dynamite. I gave that episode of Dynamite that you gave a 5, the one with the cage match and the like. I gave that a 4.
Yeah, makes sense.
So there's no way I can give that a 4 and justify giving this anything more than a 4. Do you know what I mean? It just wouldn't make sense. So I can't give it a 5, even though I think it's a beautiful example of how you handle something so unpredictable, like the whole corona outbreak and the lack of audience and everything that's going on with any sort of public event. And I know people like to do the whole, AEW is better, WWE is better. I'm always going to watch all of them. Do you know what I mean? So I want all of the products to do well. I want the rivalry to help boost.
That's it. I mean, AEW
I genuinely mean
it. WWE on notice this week,
take a look at your rival and take some.
It's on WWE now to step up and fucking take action. And if they don't, then they're gonna have some work to do, because it just went to show that you can deliver a fantastic quality show in a crisis. So
this exactly for me, this makes you go to WWE. There's no fucking excuse because you still can't put on a quality show. This is proof right here. This wasn't a Wednesday Night War. This was a fucking massacre because they absolutely ruined NXT.
This is a clip from our weekly podcast, A2theK WrestleTalk. The full show can be found on Spotify, Apple, Google, and pretty much anywhere else that you find your podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and we hope you enjoy.